Good evening and welcome to this Casa and Gunner Short webinar on a burning topic. Will Baluchistan secede? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And to talk about all this, I have with me a very capable and experienced panel. And that panel consists of first, on to my right, next to me is Brigadier Arun Sehgal. After that, you see General Gautam Murthy, and then in the bottom row, Mr. Tahir Gora, who's just joined in, Razak Baluch, who's joining us from USA, and Tahir Gora is joining us from Canada, and Captain Alok Bansal of the India Foundation. He's a well-known person who's written a book on Baluchistan and an expert on this. Uh, well, Balochistan is in the news almost every day in some paper or the other. I'm not going to come between you and the speakers. But before we do that, I'd like request General Gautam Murthy, sir, please give a small brief introduction and your views, and then we'll take off. All yours, sir.
Good evening, General Shankar. Good evening, my fellow panelists. Good morning, and good evening and good morning to all the viewers. Welcome to this important webinar on Will Baluchistan secede? No discussion on Baluchistan can take place without understanding the historical context. The genesis of Pakistan's problem with Baluchistan is deeply rooted in its history. At the time of Pakistan's independence, Baluchistan composed of four princely states, Kalat, Lasbela, Kharan and Makran. During the British rule, your viewers may or may not know, Baluchistan enjoyed a fair degree of autonomy. And not many know that in August 1947, at a roundtable conference that was held, in which Jinnah Liaquat Ali Khan, Lord Mountbatten, and Sir Sultan Ahmed, along with few other important people of the state of Kalat, participated. And it was agreed that 5th August 1947 will be declared as an Independence Day for the state of Kalat. It will act as an independent country with cordial relations with its neighbors. It was agreed that it will enjoy the status that it had in 1838, which allowed it to exercise its right to self-determination and choose what is best for its country and its people. So, what is important to understand here is that Baluchistan was independent initially, but eventually, under pressure from Pakistan and the British, the Khan of Kalat signed the instrument of accession on 27 March 1948, a good 7 months after independence. This accession was seen as forced by many Baluch people, leading to resistance and deep resentment. The first rebellion began immediately, almost in July 1948, led by the two princes who opposed the accession of Kalat to Pakistan. The conflict ended in 1950, but it marked the beginning of a long-standing struggle for independence or autonomy. This initial conflict set a precedent for future rebellions. And each wave of insurgency has been driven by demands for greater autonomy or independence, reflecting deep-seated grievances against the Pakistani state. A peep into history also reveals that in 1955, a harebrained plan was chalked out, which was called a one-unit plan. Under the scheme, the four provinces of Pakistan, namely Sindh, Punjab, Baluchistan, and Northwest Frontier Province, now called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, were amalgamated into one unit. This idea badly backfired and was strongly condemned and thrown away by the Baluch leaders. The second Baluch resistance took place in the early years of Field Marshal Ayub Khan's regime. Then Pakistan Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto dissolved the elected government and launched a massive military operation Baluchistan, which lasted for over 5 years. Much later, under President Musharraf, we know what happened. Military operations continued. And in his desire to overcome and destroy insurgency, that backfired. And with a red letter day for Baluchistan and the killing of Nawab Akbar Bukti on 26 August 2006. This was a turning point in the major struggle. Fast forward to 26 August 2024, 18th anniversary of his killing, and we all know that one of the bloodiest attacks on the soil of Pakistan has occurred, with over 70 people, soldiers killed by the Baloch Liberation Army's Majid Brigade. Its suicide squad carried out a very coordinated attack across various parts of Baluchistan. Baluchistan today is teetering on the brink. The pressure being applied by the Pakistani government, which is essentially a military government, is being resisted very strongly by the people of Baluchistan. Is the province ready to secede? What is the state today? I leave that now to my eminent panelists to speak on. Back to you, General Shankar. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. बहुत मेहरबानी. At the outset, I'd like to tell everyone कि अगर आप हिंदी में बात करना चाहते हैं तो हिंदी में बात कीजिए, अगर इंग्लिश में बात करना चाहते हो तो इंग्लिश में बात कीजिए. Suit yourself. There's no problem. We all know Baluchistan is 1/3 of Pakistan, and it's got a lot of minerals and all that, and all the history and everything General Murthy has already spelled out. I just like to add one more piece of information to that. Gwadar was actually part of Oman. It was handed over to Pakistan under a financial settlement under the British pressure. So it's not only the Khan of Kalat. In fact, if you look at it, Baluchistan was a state which was made up artificially and handed over to an artificial country. So that's the whole thing. But what is it today? Many people describe Baluchistan in many forms, but the best form I have heard is that it is the weakest, it's the weak heart of CPC. यानी कि बलूचिस्तान CPC का कमजोर दिल है, राइट? इसमें क्या है? लोगों का आकांक्षा and the greed and ambitions of Pakistani generals and the Chinese, right? कुछ दिन तक I didn't feel that Baluchistan will secede. Problems होंगे, insurgency होगा, का चलता रहेगा, और Pakistan army will be in full control of the whole situation. But a few days back, I changed my mind. I changed my mind because of two people. One is whom they call Maulana Diesel, Fazlur Rahman, what he spoke in the parliament and what Mairang Baloch keeps speaking. I'll show you a small clip because I think that puts a lot of things in context. And then I would
Sir, you've gone silent.
Your mic. You've gone on silent mode by mistake. You're on mute. You're on mute, Shankar. General Shankar.
Yeah, one minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
can you hear me now?
Clear. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now you're clear. By mistake, you've gone on
So
mute.
once we finish seeing the small clip, I'd request Captain Alok Bansal to come in and give his point of view. Here we go. One minute.
बता दूं आपको, ऐवान को बताना चाहता हूं, वो इलाके कि जो पुलिस तो खाली कर चुकी थी लेकिन फौज भी खाली कर चुकी है, और जहां पर जंग हो और पुलिस भी ना हो और फौज भी ना हो तो वो एरिया किसके कब्जे में होगा और वहां किसका रेट होगा? और दिल पे हाथ रखकर मुझे कहना पड़ता है, इंतहाई दर्द दिल के साथ कहना पड़ता है कि इस वक्त बलूचिस्तान के 5 से 7 अजला इस पोजीशन में हैं कि अगर वो आजादी का ऐलान कर दें तो अगले दिन अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा में उनकी दरखास्त को कबूल। कहां खड़े हैं हम लोग? मेरी गुफ्तगू को जज्बाती गुफ्तगू न समझा जाए, मैं जज्बाती बातें नहीं किया करता, लेकिन हकायक तक पहुंचने के लिए पार्लियामेंट को भी पहुंचना होगा और हुकूमत को भी पहुंचना होगा।
वहाँ पर आपके इतने बड़े बड़े जो आप ये माइक्स और कैमरे उठा के लाते हो ना, वहाँ पे कोई नहीं आता है, ठीक है ना। बलूचिस्तान के दूर दराज इलाकों में जब आपके एफसी जो है ना औरतों को मारती है, जब आपके एफसी ने ओशाब में 2 बच्चों पर गोला बारूद फेंके ना, वो न्यूज आप लोगों ने कभी नहीं दी। आप लोगों में से किसी भी मीडिया चैनल को मैं चैलेंज करती हूँ कि वो आए बलूचिस्तान में। आप लोगों में से कौन है जो जिसने तुरबत देखा है, जिसने ओशाब देखा है, जिसने आवारान देखा है? आवारान में एंट्री आपको नहीं मिलेगी, आवारान में आपको वीजा लगा के जाना पड़ेगा। ये है वो बलूचिस्तान जिसको आप लोगों ने देखा नहीं है, जिसको आप लोगों ने सिर्फ और सिर्फ व्हाट्सएप के कॉपी पेस्ट बयानिए से जाकर जो है ना मैच किया हुआ है। उस बलूचिस्तान को देखने की आप में जरूरत नहीं है। अगर आप देखेंगे तो मुझे यकीन है, अगर आपके अंदर इंसानियत है तो आपकी आंखें शर्म से डूब मरनी चाहिए। शर्म करें आप लोग कि आप लोगों ने एक कौम को 70 सालों से खून रेजी की है, 70 सालों से उसकी औरतों को नहीं बख्शा है, उसके मर्दों को नहीं बख्शा है। ये है वो आपकी रियासत की हकीकत। आप हमसे मुजम्मत करवा कर अपने रियासती जब्र को नहीं छुपा सकते। आप हमसे मुजम्मत करवा कर सबसे पहले याया खान से जाकर मुजम्मत करवाए, सबसे पहले अपने सबसे बड़े हीरो जो मुशर्रफ है ना, उससे जाकर मुजम्मत करवाए कि उसने जो है ना एक 80 साल बुजुर्ग बुकटी पर भी गोला बारूद मांगे, उसको भी मारा, ठीक है ना। जाए अपनी रियासत के मशीनरी से जो है ना मुजम्मत करवाए कि उन्होंने बलोचों की नस्ल कुशी क्यों की, वो आज भी नस्ल कुशी क्यों कर रहे हैं। ये आपकी रियासत की हकीकत है।
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Can I start?
That,
Thank you.
1 minute. That is the actuality or the feelings about Baluchistan. One view from within the Pakistan National Assembly and the other view from the streets of Baluchistan. Both fiery and both give you a pointer to where Baluchistan is heading. With this, I'd request Captain Alok Bansal, all yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. I am indeed grateful for being called for this webinar. My only claim to knowledge as far as Baluchistan is concerned is a book that I had published in 2009, which was incidentally the first book on Baluchistan by an Indian. And last year I published a book on Gwadar. So just some amplifications to what General Murthy said and General Shankar said. We need to be very clear. Baluchistan province comprises around 43% of Pakistan's landmass, but is inhabited by just around 6% of its population. But Baloch live outside Baluchistan in a very substantive number, both in Iran, Afghanistan, as well as in Sindh and certain parts of Punjab. And amongst Baloch who live in Sindh, there are 2 types of Baloch. One who are Balochi speaking Baloch, and then there are Sindhi speaking Baloch like Asif Ali Zardari and others. So that is as far as Baluchistan is concerned. As far as history is concerned, Khan of Kalat had presented a memorandum to cabinet secretariat where cabinet mission, sorry, I stand corrected, which was presented by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was his legal advisor at that point of time. Kalat in 1947 was a fully functioning state. It was a 19-gun salute state. It had a bicameral legislature. It had a British foreign minister, and it had Mr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah as his legal advisor. Now, Kharan, Lasbela, and Makran were actually vassals of Kalat. And this we need to be very clear. They were not fully independent states. They were actually vassals of Khan of Kalat. And when the proposal to merge Kalat with Pakistan was sent to Khan of Kalat, he sent it to his legislature. And that point of time, a party called Kalat State National Party was in power, and its leader, Gozbaks Bijenjo, put it up. And he made a very interesting statement. He said, if just because we are Muslims, we are required to join Pakistan, then Afghanistan and Iran must also be asked to join Pakistan. And he went on to say that they say we cannot survive without Pakistan, but the fact is we have the minerals, we have the coast. Can Pakistan survive without us? And the proposal was unanimously rejected by the bicameral legislature. And that's how Kalat became fully independent on 15th August 1947 till March 1948. And then, of course, the first rebellion by Prince Karim and so on. I don't want to go into the rebellions by Nasrullah Khan in 1958 and then Sher Muhammad Mari's in 60s and then 73 to 78 when Ataullah Mangal's government was sacked and the Pakistan. With paucity of time, we'll go into what was given to me. Firstly, we need to understand who are Baloch. Now, this is a very interesting phenomena. We need to understand that Baloch do not speak one language. The people who call themselves Baloch do not speak one language. Baloch speak 2 strands of Balochi and Brahui. and Brahui or Balochi are as different as chalk from cheese. But despite speaking two different languages, they all consider themselves as Baloch and are together in this movement. Now, it is this unified sense, a narrative that has actually been built, which has created a Baloch identity, and this has been accentuated by a sense of persecution by the Pakistani state. You saw Dr. Maharang Baloch make a statement. Earlier, Mama Qadir Baloch tried to lead the people. So this has been going on because they realize that if we have to get our rights, then we have to be unified. They have been deprived. Of course, paucity of time, I won't go into it, how economically deprived it is, because bulk of the minerals are from Baluchistan. Like, to give you an example, Sui gas, it was supplied to almost all cities in Pakistan, and it came to Quetta only when a cantonment was set up. Till then, there was no piped gas in Quetta. So that was the last to get it. So there are, of course, various reasons. But my talk was to what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. Now, firstly, can Baluchistan secede? To my mind, by itself, it's very difficult. Not because the sense of alienation is not there. Alienation in Baluchistan is complete. But Baloch lack the critical mass. They're just 5 to 6% of 5% of the population, and the Pakistan army will not let them go. So, what Baloch have tried to do? They have tried to expand the arena by creating Baloch Sindhi Mahas, by becoming parts of Pakistani oppressed nations movement, and all those things. In fact, all the Sindhi liberation organizations, Sindh Liberation Front, Sindhu Desh Liberation Army, they're all functioning under the Baloch groups. So if Sindhu Desh Liberation Army is there, it actually functions under Baloch Liberation Army. The training, etc. is given. Though Sindh is a much bigger province in terms of numbers. But why? Because Baloch realized that by themselves, they'll not be able to break away. So they need somebody's support. So they want all the suppressed nations of Pakistan to come together against the Punjabi domination. And as a result, if you look, right from the time from 2008, when the call was given that all Punjabi Muslims in Baluchistan are valid targets, they have been targeted. Now, what happened on 26th August 2024 is again this. The buses were stopped, the vehicles were stopped, and the Punjabis were eliminated. Now, this is, you can go on to the strategy and tactics, why it was, how it was done, right or wrong. So that is the strategy, and that is the right strategy, because if you don't have the number, you have to get others. And if you remember, when the first flare-up happened in PPL complex in Sui in 2004, Nawab Bukti had given a very interesting statement. If you know, Lady Dr. Shazia was actually allegedly raped by one captain. And he said, he made a statement. He said, ideally, the Sindhis should have reacted, but they have not. And then he went on to say, I don't appeal to dead people. That was as provocative a statement that could have come for Sindhis to. And you have seen, there has been turbulence in Sindh. So they have been realizing that that is what they need to do. What has been their tactics? Now, Baluchistan is a dry, parched land. It is a huge landmass with long lines of communication. It doesn't have cover. And so what happens? You have to attack. So the Baloch nationalists have targeted communication links. You will see attacks on railway bridges, railway lines, oil pipelines, gas pipelines, electricity pylons. These are the usual targets that have been targeted. Besides them, security agencies or Punjabi settlers. Now, this is an interesting factor. Why Punjabi settlers? Because one of the grievances of the Baloch have been that these mega infrastructural projects that are being set up in Baluchistan, like Gwadar Port, Sendak Copper Mine, Mirani Dam, all these are being controlled firstly by the federal government, with outsiders with no control with the Baloch. And more importantly, Ataullah Mangal's son Ataullah Mangal himself had made a statement that federal government says they want to make Gwadar into another Karachi. He said, if Gwadar rises to the level of half the Karachi, will become a permanent minority in our province. Because please understand, the Karachi's population is much larger than Baluchistan. So they feel that this is an attempt by the establishment to reduce them to a minority in their own territory. And that's why there is a huge anger against these projects, and Chinese have actually negotiated at some times with Baloch. I don't know what has been the result. I'm not aware. Uh, but the Baloch tactics is right. They are not actually great killing or something. They are targeting these infrastructural projects, the linkages that connect Baluchistan to rest of Pakistan, the railway lines, the railways, the bridges, the pylons, and that's, I think, the right approach that they are pursuing. I have a lot to speak, but as General Shankar said, we must restrict, and that is what I'm trying to say. So this is what is happening, and what Mehrang Baloch is doing is a phenomenal thing. But as I said, till the time other ethnicities come in their support or an external power enters the arena, it is going to be very difficult for Baloch to secede. Please understand, when 73 rebellion happened, the Shah of Iran sent Iranian Air Force to quell the Baloch rebellion, because Baloch are being persecuted in Sistanwa, Baluchistan of Iran as well. And that has been a case. And Baloch nationalism, like Kurdish nationalism, threatens more than one state. And that has been the irony, and that's been the sad part, what has kept Baloch under wraps. If you want anything more to be spoken to, I could speak on a particular topic, but this is what my I thought I was asked to speak on: Baloch, their strength, their weakness. The weakness part, sorry, I just forgot the weakness part. Now, the weakness part is also there. Please understand, there are different Baloch organizations. And to that extent, I give credit to Mehrang Baloch. She's trying to bring them all together. There have been a lot of attempts made by to bring various, but predominant organizations, the three of them, the BLA, the BRA, and the BLF, represent three different regions. The BLA is primarily a Mari-dominated group, which was earlier led by Nawabzada Balach Mari and have generally domination of Maris. The BRA is Bukti force primarily. And then BLF is the one which is actually more middle class and on the Makran coast with Dr. Allah Nazar, etc. It's not a very sacrosanct thing that this particular organization is supported by a particular tribe. BLF is now expanding because now the insurgency is led more by educated, urban educated middle class youth rather than a few sardars, as was the case previously. But even today, the group has not unified completely. And I had long back attended a BNM conference which they had organized, where their aim was that not only Baloch, but all the groups that are fighting against the Pakistani state must come together. And for bringing them together, basically what you need is an external agency which can bring them, because there are certain differences amongst them which keep cropping up from time to time. That's about all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I thought you brought out some very, very important and relevant issues. The fact that Baloch people live outside Baluchistan, spill over to Iran and in Sindh. I think that's a very important point. And I think a very, very interesting issue which you brought up was, can Pakistan survive without Baluchistan if it secedes? So if whatever happens tomorrow in Baluchistan, it'll have a ripple effect not only in Pakistan and in Iran, as you rightly brought out. So, and if it happens here, it's an international issue. Redrawing of state boundaries and international boundaries will become big. But then in the time when, a lot of international boundaries are about to be changed in Ukraine, so this could be also one of them. So nothing is out of the equation, notwithstanding anything else. Yeah, you rightly said that, that's what I said in the beginning also. Pakistan army will go all out to not let Baluchistan secede, right? And Baluchistan, if it has to secede, the rebel groups or insurgent groups have to get together, get their act together, and become together. The deprivation in Baluchistan is endemic right from day one. The missing persons list is also, I think, gone beyond books and pages. There's no doubt. But the issue of Baloch nationalism, getting other sub-tribes together and making a nucleus which is strong enough to survive on its own and secede, I think is a very important thing. A point which I wanted to add was, you spoke about the insurgency, about it's a very sophisticated insurgency which has started when you compare it to say 5-10 years back. I think, and this is also the international opinion, that the Baluch rebel groups have become very clear and incisive in what they are doing and what they are targeting. I think that is at this point of time, like what Maulana Fazlur Rahman said, is getting to be beyond Pakistan Army for many reasons, and we'll discuss this. Thanks a lot, sir. I now request Mr. Razak Baluch. After all, he's from the Baluch American Council, and I'm sure he's involved in whatever is happening in Baluchistan to a fair degree. Your views, you heard the captain speak. All yours, Razak ji.
Thank you, General Saab, for inviting Baloch American Congress to put my case about Baluchistan. And I really appreciate that you have picked Baluchistan topic and your concern about Baluchistan. We really appreciate that. I will start with, like our friend said, the roundtable conference. There were 3 countries. One is to be born. The Pakistan was not born at that time because Jinnah, Mr. Jinnah, betrayed Hindustan. He betrayed India and demanded the division of India. In that demand, not a single person from Baluchistan was chanting, "Bat ke rahega Hindustan, ban ke rahega Pakistan." We were not a part of that. Let me clear that first. And after that, when 3 countries, the Britain, Baluchistan, and to be born Pakistan, signed the standstill agreement. And that agreement paved the way to make Pakistan as a country. So after that, Jinnah became Governor General. He became the servant of Queen. He did not take the oath of Pakistan. He died as the servant of Queen. He died as a Governor General. And when they became a little bit strong, what they did is they started forcing the Khan of Kalat to merge Baluchistan with Pakistan. Just look at the map of Sindh and Punjab. What is that? It's not a country. You cannot survive with that. So the depth of Baluchistan was needed, the strategic depth. So they decided to force Khan to merge with Pakistan. So Pakistan has a depth. That's one point. And Khan of Kalat said, look at the political awareness in Baluchistan. Mir Gonsbaksh Bisinjo, the Kalat National Party, that party was in the parliament in the majority. When Khan was forced to merge with Pakistan, Khan put up the case in the Baloch parliament. In the Baloch parliament, Gonsbaksh Bisinjo said, we cannot be fooled with this new religious country. We know who made this country. So Baloch is not religious fanatic at that time and not today. That's one point I wanted to clear. And when they did not see that they can suppress Khan of Kalat and forced him to merge with Pakistan, and the Parliament of Baluchistan decided not to merge with Pakistan. That was the burning point for British and Pakistan. They betrayed their own standstill agreement with the Baloch. They betrayed Baluchistan. When you send the army across my border, it means you don't respect your own words, your own treaty. My question with the Britain, where were you at that time when Pakistan invaded Baluchistan and with the force army, they merged Baluchistan with Pakistan. Since that day, the army of Pakistan controlled the Baluchistan. And what happened is those leaders who voted against merger of Pakistan, they were arrested, including my father. They were arrested, they were tortured so that they can carry on their design of depth of Baluchistan. At that time, the British were silent. Where is the dignity of democracy and human dignity? They were not bothered about that. And all our leaders were tortured in Kuli camp in Quetta. Baluchistan was an independent country. They betrayed their oath. They sent the army to occupy Baluchistan. Baluchistan, we don't consider Baluchistan as a province of Pakistan. We don't see Baluchistan to be merged with Pakistan. Since the occupation of Baluchistan, Pakistan has become a curse for us. Today, it's a long history. If I talk, I can talk for hours what atrocities they have done in Baluchistan. Kill and dump, kill our leaders, kill our resources, sell our resources to China, sell our resources to Barrick Gold, Canada. What is happening? Nobody is talking. Our contribution for the subcontinent, the Baloch leadership and the Pashtun leadership, we fought with British to be out of this subcontinent. So can we have a free country? We became the slave of the servants. Today, you see, my question with the Western world, the civilized world, why you are using the Pakistani mercenary army? Because of that, the Pakistan is surviving. Pakistan is an artificial country. Like you see today, what my point is, we are not religious fanatics. The president of my party, Dr. Tarachand Baloch, is a president of Baloch American Congress. And Hindus have a lot of stock in Baluchistan. They fought with shoulder to shoulder with Baloch people. We don't consider religion as a separate thing. We consider Baloch as a Baloch. We don't care about the languages. We care about the territory of Baluchistan, the resources of Baluchistan. Our mineral resources are looted. Our ocean is finished. Those criminal Chinese and criminal Pakistani army is looting Baluchistan, and the whole world is silent. There's one word they call it sarmachar. Sarmachar means don't care for your life, for your motherland. And my request to the Indian media also, don't call our sarmachars Atankwadi. They are freedom fighters. They are safeguarding the Baloch land. We just want that standstill agreement was breached, an army was sent. That occupying army must be withdrawn from Baluchistan. And this standstill agreement should be read in the Parliament of India, in the Parliament of British, in the Congress of America, in the European Union and United Nations. That must be respected, and the army must be removed from Baluchistan. That is one way to put pressure with the whole world should help us, support us to get this barbarian army out of Baluchistan. If not, I'm telling you, Pakistani army is a coward army. In the night time, you will not see any one single army man roaming around in the road. They are in the garrisons, in the camps. They cannot go out. What we need is the support of from outside those countries, so we can kick them out of Baluchistan, and we can destroy all their garrisons and camps, and Quetta Chowni and Khuzar Chowni. That is the only way. We don't need too many people. We are enough to fight. All we need is that kind of tools to kick them out. And world must support us. And today we are ready for the uprising. I thank you for showing Dr. Marang's clip. Now you can see our people are ready for the uprising. Our people are ready to take the arms. When George Washington can take the arms to free America, we have a right to take the arms to free our land. We are not terrorists. The Pakistan army is a terrorist. That Pakistan army must be kicked out of my land. That is my point. And we just hope the world is going to support us to kick this barbarian army out of Baluchistan. And all we need is support to kick them out. Pakistan has no right in Baluchistan. Nighttime, they are coward. If you go take the big hammer and bang their door, they're not going to open the door. This is the army. Just imagine, the army camps are protected by the levies and police. What kind of army is that? All we need is that kind of tool to kick them out. And my another request is to the other part of the country, which are suppressed, the Sindhis, the Punjabis, the Pashtuns. Punjabi think is they are the uncle of Pakistan, but they are not supposed to join army to go into Baluchistan. They should refuse to go to Baluchistan. We want the dead bodies to go to the people who have created this mess for us. We cannot move around in Baluchistan. Go and enjoy your buffaloes and lassi. Leave us alone. We want to kick the Chinese also from Baluchistan. We are going to warn the Barrick Gold, the Canadian company, not to enter Baluchistan. We are telling the Saudi Arabia also not to be a partner with criminal army to loot the plunder of our gold. Baluchistan belongs to Baloch people. Okay, if you want to, you see, Pakistan is a beggar. Pakistan is not that kind of country who can feed their army. They cannot feed this army. This army is looting and plundering the wealth of the other nationalities within the Pakistan to survive. We will not let that happen. We will resist. It depends. How soon we get the support, the sooner we can kick them out. And my request to the United Nations, to Western countries, the Britain and America, don't use this mercenary army. You are feeding them. Just take the oxygen out of their face so that we can breathe also. Pakistan is an artificial country, and Baluchistan is there for centuries. So my this thing is just imagine Jinnah betrayed his own country, India, and then he betrayed Baluchistan,
Yeah,
and we
I
treated. Yeah.
will get back to you on this issue.
Yeah.
I think you made some very, very, very interesting points, Razak. Look, the Baluch people feel betrayed. That is quite apparent from your voice itself. The
Thank you.
betrayal of what you feel, you're conveyed it through your voice. And you all very clearly said Baluchistan is not part of Pakistan. And this issue of atrocities, kill and dump, disappearances, and without any accountability, I think are issues of human crimes against humanity. And at some point of time, these have to be taken note of by the UN. And very funnily, way back, about 10, 15 years back, the BBC had written an article about the disappearances and the atrocities of Baluchistan, much before all this started, the way it has. And for some reason, this aspect has not been highlighted in the World Forum adequately. We talk of, Palestine and Gaza and Kashmir and all that, but why not Baluchistan? I think this is an important point which you are making, and the fact that Baluch people are not religious fanatics, and I can understand that you're feeling deprived of what China is doing and what the Canadian Barrick gold mine is doing in Baluchistan, that they're looting you, and it is the Pakistan army and the Pakistan Punjabis who are benefiting from all this plunder and loot. And you just mentioned about the standstill agreement and all those legalities. We'll have to relook at this whole story. But the important thing which you brought out is you need outside support, and you don't need manpower. You don't need actual this thing. You just need outside support, and you have a good case in point, because like Musharraf used to say, we give moral support to Kashmiris. I think personally, India should also give equivalent moral support to Baluch people. That
Thank you.
same kind, whatever Parvez Musharraf and even Ziaul Haq in his time gave the support they gave to the Kashmir. I think it's time we started giving it. But then this is my personal issue. I'm sure a lot of people will be watching this podcast with interest and the views which come out of it, and we'll take it up from there. Thanks a lot. I'll get back to you after some time. With this,
Thank you.
Brigadier Arun Saigal, sir, your views, all yours, please.
You want to give it the floor to Tahir Saab, because since he'll provide a
Okay,
perspective.
let's Tahir bhai, aap baat kijiye. There's no problem. We'll go to the Brigadier.
I'll cover the geostrategic issues. So mine is a very
Yes, sir, definitely. Yes, baat kijiye.
Ji, thank you very much for having me, and I'm really delighted to hear General Saab, Alok Bansal ji, Razak Saab. I think if we just touch the current situation in Balochistan, of course, Razak Baloch bhai knows better than me, but I'll emphasize what you showed, General Saab, Maulana Fazlur Rahman and Marang Baloch clips. Maulana Fazlur Rahman is a jihadi mullah. He is the reason for jihad in Kashmir as well. But he is confessing, in fact, that things are out of hand, things are out of control in some areas in Balochistan. Why is that? My question is, why is that with that huge army, as Razak bhai said? Pakistan army is covered. There is no doubt in that. But unfortunately, they are nuclear state and they are doing atrocities in Balochistan. But despite all those atrocities, all those issues created by Pakistan army, Baloch, especially young Baloch, what I'm hearing from Balochistan through my journalistic resources, that now the young Baloch in many parts of Balochistan are realizing that they'll be either picked up by these army goons, they'll be killed. So why shouldn't they fight for their land? Why shouldn't fight for their human rights? In fact, in my personal humble perception and understanding, the issue in Balochistan for the young generation in Balochistan is more about human rights than the land now. The land issue was more relevant to the friends like Razak Baloch age and the people, his elders. But the young people in this social media age, they are more concerned about human rights. They are feeling that some of them tried to their best to work with Pakistan state, but things never worked out. As Razak Bhai knows, for instance, Mr. Akhtar Ming, he worked with the Pakistani government. Even Dr. Tara Chand, he was in the Balochistan cabinet. But in the end, they all realized that they cannot work with this state. So in this situation, of massive human rights abuses, now the youth in Balochistan is ready to take the state of Pakistan head on. And that's what they are doing, in fact. The other factor, what Razak Bhai pointed out, is the silence of international community. For instance, in our recent days, we hear a lot about Ukraine. You talk a little bit about, peace deal or anything in Ukraine, the whole Western media, including BBC, even Al Jazeera, they all, keep talking. Oh my God, Russia invaded Ukraine. First, we have to address this issue. Okay. Has the Western world addressed Balochistan issue? What is the main crux in this issue? Pakistan invaded Balochistan in March 1948. And I'm a Canadian, proud Canadian, but unfortunately, our Canadian company, as Razak Bhai mentioned, is bringing gold out of the mines from Balochistan. And Canadian Prime Minister, shame on him. I'm saying on record, Justin Trudeau, talking a lot about Russian invasion in Ukraine, but either his Prime Minister Justin Trudeau or the previous Prime Ministers, they all let Barrick Gold to take gold out of Balochistan. So this is India's responsibility because Baloch are doing what they can do. They are already doing their part. India can galvanize international media. India can galvanize this narrative through their media. By the way, India doesn't have international media, unfortunately. That's another sad part. But India should do its responsibility. And as the Alok Bansalji said, that why is it hard for Baloch people to get independence? Because they don't have support. But look at the statement of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. There is no substantial support from India or any country. But despite all those odds, I salute Baloch people. They are ready to get independence from Pakistan, as the Maulana Fazlur Rahman himself confessing in his statement. So I'll sum up my remarks with an appeal to India through your channel, General Shankar Sahab, that India should galvanize support for Baloch narrative. I'm using the word narrative. Baloch narrative. India should talk to Western countries through their forums that you guys talk about invasion of Ukraine 24/7, but you are taking out gold, my own country sadly, taking out gold from Balochistan, a country that was invaded by Pakistani state, and not just invasion of land, massive human rights abuses as well. So these are my few points I like to add in this discussion.
थैंक्स अ लॉट ताहिर भाई. आई थिंक आपने बहुत अच्छे अच्छे पॉइंट निकाले हैं. सबसे पहले तो इट्स अ मैसिव ह्यूमन राइट सिचुएशन व्हिच हैज गॉन कंप्लीटली अंडर द रडार. आई थिंक which is something which is coming out now, but you need international spotlight on it. And for this, I think the Indian government needs to do more, right? Just like Pakistan has, blown the Kashmir situation out of proportion, and just like now the Bangladeshi situation is being blown out of proportion, I think it's incumbent on the Indian government to start thinking of everything beyond India. I'm sure it is, but I think we need what the point which you made is you have to start building a greater narrative, and this greater narrative has to be based on the actual history of the Baloch people and the atrocities they have gone through at the hands of the Pakistani army and the Pakistani people. And it is not only that, and the loot which Razak Bhai mentioned should be known to people, and how that area is being militarized. I'm sure Brigadier Saigal will touch upon it. How China is militarizing Gwadar and wants to make it into a nuclear base also, because even that is on the cards. And if that happens, I actually shudder to think what will happen to the Baloch people. So that is one part of the story. You touched upon another very important thing of silence of the international community and its double standards. When Russia invades Ukraine, the plight of the Ukraine people and the Russian people are highlighted. What happens to Gaza, everyone wants to know. It's all human rights. But when it comes to Baloch people, the human rights standards are on a different dimension altogether. So this is something which needs to be set right. An important point which Razak Bhai said and Tahir Bhai, reinforced is the fact that the night is with the Baloch people. In any situation of this kind, between the people and the state, I call it people and the state because that's the way it is in international parlance. Whether the state is, legal or not, that is a different story. But in this, the night matters. Who controls the night matters. And by Maulana Diesel's own admission in the National Assembly, that there are large tracts of Baluchistan and Pakistan. In fact, if you go through his entire statement, I've just shown what is about Pakistan here. If you go through his entire statement, which covers Khyber Pakhtunkhwa also, there are large tracts of Pakistan where Pakistan army has lost control. And then the situation is pretty bad and it is ripe for secession. And that is why I brought this up, right? And the Baloch people have got control over the night and the land around it by their own capability. And what will happen if a certain amount of moral support is given to them is anybody's guess, right? It has repercussions.
Webcast.
It has international repercussions because, like you said, Pakistan is a nuclear state. And I'm sure Brigadier Arun Saigal will touch upon it. Sir, all yours.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to be the last speaker. I'm normally not very happy, but this time I'm very happy to be the last speaker because so much has been talked about by Razak Baloch Saab, Vohra Saab, and Alok Bansal, my old friend, and of course General Murthy and you. I'd just like to highlight some perceptions which I have gained of being in a track 2 for over now 14, 15 years with my Pakistani colleagues. And I just want to highlight to you the track 2 which I am in is military come diplomatic track 2. So we have senior military officers from the Pakistani army, generals and senior diplomats. and also politicians, ex-foreign ministers and others are part of it. Now, let me share first of all as to their perception about what is happening in Balochistan. There is a feeling that Pakistan is losing the plot in Balochistan. There is a perception that we have not handled the issue very in a humane manner. Overuse of force, the way we have treated the political skullduggery that we have done in the region, and the attempt to put the blame on everybody else, because one of the things, whenever we talk about terrorism in Kashmir and all, they immediately say, what are you doing in terrorism in Baluchistan, etc., etc. That in sober sense, when they speak to us, there is the feeling that I get is a realization is that they are losing the plot in Baluchistan. But sadly speaking, this loss of plot in Baluchistan is not because of any love for the people of Baluchistan, but it is for the geostrategic perceptions about the location of Baluchistan, the CPEC, and the investments in Baluchistan, and the loss of opportunity costs to Pakistan state. I hope this point is understood. There is a perception they're losing plot, but it is not because of the atrocities being committed. So this is the second part. The third issue is that we have to understand what is at stake for Pakistani state in Balochistan. Gwadar and the areas around Gwadar have become the center focal point of the entire CPEC corridor. CPEC provides Western China, Xinjiang region, which is landlocked with a warm water access. CPEC will also provide eventually a link to Central Asia and trade routes to Central Asia. So Gwadar port was sought to be created as a fulcrum for trade and a huge economic hub for the region. It is nowhere. It has failed in its project. As of now, there's hardly 10% offtake from its capacity. Recently, airport was inaugurated during the SCO summit, which was interestingly done virtually from
Karachi.
Islamabad by
Yes,
Pakistan.
it's a virtual.
Pakistani
It's a virtual inauguration.
It's a virtual inauguration, and there was one flight that landed that day, and ever since there is no flight that has landed at the cost of $400 million. The third is this gold project, which is a collaboration. Apart from the fact that the Canadian company is involved in extrication, but basically it's a collaborative project between the Chinese and this thing. So extraction of minerals continues to be the main issue responsible for it. So the whole onus of the Pakistani military is, at this point in time, is to provide safety and security to the Chinese investors, their workers, and to ensure that these projects are executed to the benefit of the state. But there are some very important strategic advantages my friends from Baluchistan have to understand, and that will remain the interest point, including muscle flexing by the Pakistani military, because they cannot be overlooked. And you have to take cognizance of those things. One is Gwadar provides shortest routes to Central Asia, and it reduces distances to the east. Now, this is where the Chinese have a foothold, and from this foothold, China has induced Pakistan to hand over this territorial space. Razak Saab would know how the certain no-go areas have been created around Gwadar, where people, local people are not allowed to go. They have become sanctuaries of the Chinese, and which have now are being developed not only as a commercial ports, but also becoming as reports indicate, and we have some very credible inputs of they being converted into the upcoming first overseas Chinese naval command in the region. It will be the first Chinese outpost, just like the Americans have created outposts all over the world and into the region. And its importance lies in the fact is that it is along the most important energy and trade routes which can be monitored from here. So please do not underestimate the fact that this is a crown jewel for the Chinese, and will do everything under the sun to protect their interests. This airport which has been created will also be utilized not so much for commercial flights. And if you want to understand the linkages between two, see what has happened to the Hambantota airport. It was created with same fanfare, huge airport was created, never any flight landed. But there the difference lies in the fact is that Sri Lanka was a relatively free country. India was close to Sri Lanka and we put pressure on it. And today, supposedly, we and the Russians have some stakeholders in that airport. But here, Chinese are the main. They have put every nickel that has gone into that airport has been created by, and it is going to be the forward logistic base and a forward launch pad. Now, please remember, just see maritime reconnaissance flights taking over from where the AWACS of the Chinese operating from there, and the whole subcheese of the Chinese maritime capabilities, including submarines coming up and landing over there. So, and you must have also heard how the Chinese and Pakistanis are now talking about in a quid pro quo for giving them the access and deployments, military deployments in Gwadar port in the coming years. The Chinese will provide them with second strike capability. Second strike capability का मतलब होता है कि sea borne based deterrence. Sea based deterrence मतलब ये Hunger class submarines जो बना रहे हैं, the submarines which are being produced by the Chinese for the Pakistanis, those will have tubes which can launch nuclear weapons. And Gwadar, being a deep sea port, is an ideal place for locating these submarines over there outside, let's put it this way, the immediate range of the Indian systems. So there is a great game being played. Similarly, there is an economic zone which is supposed to come up, and that economic zone is not the zone जिसको आप समझ रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान के लिए है. I keep telling my Pakistani friends, मैं क्या ब्रदर ये आपके लिए नहीं है. यहाँ पे चाइनीज जो की फैक्ट्रियों का जो सामान आएगा या चाइनीज फैक्ट्री लगाएंगे, आपकी स्वेट लेबर इस्तेमाल होगी, and that sweat labor and then will be utilized for sending goods through the Mediterranean onto the east coast of America, which is the shortest route for the Chinese for sending their goods. Please understand this. This is the shortest route for the Chinese to send their goods to both to Europe and the Middle East. So it is, if you take from Shanghai, the timing for the ship to travel from Shanghai to Karachi is about 5 days. So you are saving 5 days in terms of commercial costs. So there is a cost. Second issue is, like I told you, it's a deep sea port. It also helps China along with Pakistan to monitor sea lanes. जनरल साहब ने बात करी न्यूक्लियर डिटरेंस की. 100% करेक्ट. देयर आर टू थिंग्स जो हमारे को पता लगी हैं। वो एक चीज है कि सबमरीन का, न्यूक्लियर सबमरीन का जो बना रहे हैं, थर्ड लेग बना रहे हैं और उनको इम्प्रूव कर रहे हैं। बना तो दिया है उन्होंने और राड को लगा रहे हैं सी लॉन्च करने के लिए, पर अभी दे आर मेकिंग अ मोर सोफिस्टिकेटेड रिटेलिएटरी कैपेबिलिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ sea launch capability. But Baluchistan area around Gwadar, about not so distance away, is also being used for digging up silos around in this area, in Quetta ke paas and this area, and also relocating some new warheads in this region. So, because this area is underdeveloped, it is Registan. It is not Registan, but is in the sense that it is rocky. This area is ideally suited for their nuclear assets being dispersed and located. So the story basically that comes out of this is that strategic importance of Baluchistan is extremely high for Pakistan. Despite the fact that the Pakistani military is struggling, rightly so, despite the fact that the Baluchis are waging a valiant struggle against them, the fact remains is that this struggle will have to continue because the Pakistani army, along with working with the Chinese, cannot give up this region because the stakes are very high. I think I'll stop here and then wait for Eric.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. What you have said, few issues which I want to highlight. Pakistan is losing the plot, but let me highlight that China is not losing the plot. China is very crystal clear that it needs Gwadar at all costs. After all, Gwadar is the crown jewel of the CPEC, and CPEC is vital strategically to China. So the point which comes out from this is that the Baluch freedom movement has not only to take into account what Pakistan is doing, but it has to take into account what China is doing. What Canada is doing is very small. It's only a very small commercial activity in the way I look at it. Now, when we talk of Gwadar, I had about 10 days back, I did a show or did a program, a complete 1 hour plus program on Gwadar. Is it Pakistan's Dubai or China's first overseas base, in which I have discussed in great detail what Brigadier Arun Sehgal has said. Razak Bhai, I will give you the link to that program. Please spread it to amongst all people in Baluchistan so that you understand what is at stake. Now, the major issue which we have to know is China already has a base at Djibouti. Plus, if it has a base at Gwadar, Gwadar plus Djibouti will give China and Pakistan, and Pakistan's navy is expanding fast through China, will give control over the complete Western Arabian Sea and the Northern Arabian Sea and the energy lanes coming out of the Gulf of Hormuz and the Red Sea. So that is a thing which we cannot wish away, and I don't think the Baluch people can ever wish it away. We should not underestimate it at all. 2 points more I want to bring out, and this is something which is also the weak point of Baluchistan, or weak point of what China is doing in Baluchistan or what Pakistan is attempting to do in Baluchistan is वहाँ पानी नहीं है, पानी का किल्लत है. 3 days back I saw a report where the President Zardari is accepting a report and he wants to give it to China. And what is this report about? How to get water from Tajikistan to Gwadar. मेरे ख्वाब में भी मैं नहीं सोच सकता हूँ कि पानी ताजिकिस्तान से ग्वादर तक कैसे आएगा.
बिजली आ सकती है,
बिजली भी नहीं आ सकती है आज के दिन. वो पानी कैसे आएगा और वो अफगानिस्तान से कैसे आएगा, उसका कितना लागत होगा, क्या है, मेरे सोच के बाहर है. But the fact is they are planning, and without water, Gwadar is a dead duck. And I've done this analysis. ये तो ख्वाब है, ये जो बोलते हैं कि मुंगेरे लाल के हसीन सपने हैं ये. ओके, जहां तक ये एयरपोर्ट का सवाल है, This airport, again, what Brigadier Arun Sehgal has said, I would like to tell everyone, not only in this panel, but everyone who's saying, you'll be surprised to know the first language used in this airport is Chinese. The first language is Chinese. It is not Pakistan. It is not Urdu. It is not Pakistani. It is not Baloch. It's not English. Nothing. Chinese. So, and this is something which people have to understand. This is not a civil airport. As days go by, Gwadar will not be a civil port. Both these are Chinese military facilities, and it has very deep implications. The last point I'd like to put: climate change is happening. What many people have not, we have not spoken about it, is for some time recently, Gwadar was under 4 feet of water. Good part of Gwadar was under water. And, all services to Gwadar, the Gwadar city, were cut off. And if you see the geography of Gwadar, it juts into the sea. So there are a lot of openings and a lot of things which can happen, but we will talk of it as we go along. We finished this thing. I'll take a short question from each of you. I'll put it across. I'll not take any questions from the audience because I think a lot of emotion is coming out of the audience, which I will not handle. First, Sir General Gautam Murthy, sir, if Baluchistan secedes, what are the international repercussions in terms of what happens in Iran, what happens to Pakistan? Because ultimately you're talking of the balkanization of Pakistan also, and what happens to the nuclear factor. Just give us a broad idea as to where do you see this going.
Captain Alok Bansal brought out a very important point. The Balochis tried two nations. You see, the concept of the nation state that came about has divided people across the globe. Many people have reconciled, but like the Kurds he mentioned, the Baluchis haven't reconciled. The Sistan province, easternmost province of Iran, has a number of Baloch people, and Iranians would not like to see a free and independent Baluchistan. You have also brought out right now that it is not only Pakistan that the Baloch freedom fighters have to contend with, but China. If China is going to get embedded into Baluchistan and look at it as its own outpost, and I will go one step further to say as its own province, secession of Baluchistan is not going to happen in a hurry. The third aspect is international support. Mr. Razak Baloch, in his talk today, mentioned that while there is support for other freedom movements across the world, and there's so much of sympathy we see for the Palestinians, why is it that the world is silent? And I would add, why is it that the organization of Islamic States, Islamic OIC, is not taking this into account? After all, who are being killed? Fellow Muslims. So why is this not happening? Are they likely to get any support from them? I do not think so. So to my mind, secession of Baluchistan is not really on the horizon, however much emotional Mr. Baloch may feel about it. And if I may, General Shankar, ask Mr. Baloch one particular question, and also Mr. Tahir Gora could also take this on. You see, amongst the oldest regiments of the Pakistan Army is the Baloch Regiment. It was raised as a Madras infantry, Madras native infantry. Some of the battalion, one of the battalions over 200 years old, called MacLeod's Own, raised by Colonel MacLeod. Now you have, and it is a very strong and integral part of the Pakistan Army. The previous Chief, General Kamar Javed Bajwa, was from the Baloch Regiment. And you have many officers, many award winners from that regiment. There are over 20,000 to 30,000 active soldiers in the Pakistan Army. There's recruitment taking place into the Baloch Regiment. So I do not see how this secession is going to happen as long as the Baloch regiment is a strong and integral part of the Pakistan army. May I request the two gentlemen to try and answer that question, please?
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. I think valuable inputs. I now Razak bhai, a question. जिस तरीके से हमने ये पूरा देखा है आज, ये बड़ा क्लियर है कि the Baluch people need support. Baluch people need support not only from India. Baluch people need support from the OIC, from other Muslim countries. Baluch people need support from USA. क्योंकि ये जो whatever freedom and secession we are talking of, freedom of the Baluch people, I think we need to work on a bigger scale. So first and foremost, my little gunner shot channel is available to you. Whenever you people want to discuss Baluchistan and whenever something happens, you're welcome. Razak bhai, this is an open offer. आप जब बात करना चाहते हो बताइए, हम एक प्रोग्राम करेंगे. और मेरे ख्याल में ये जागरूकता आएगा इस प्रोग्राम के बाद विद इन और इंडियन सर्कल्स आल्सो कि ये हालत वहां क्या है. So even after seeing that Baluchistan is, it's not likely to secede in a hurry, the situation is going bad. So in this, Razak bhai, please let me know, do you need to do a rethink of how you're going to handle this at a macro level and go to, the international community?
Okay, thank you. Let me answer this. The Baloch regiment, my friend just said, the Bajwa was from the Baloch regiment. It shows the Balochs are not there in that regiment. It was created by British, but now not a single Baloch is there. All Punjabis in the name of Baloch regiment. So let me clear that first.
And that's a very good point. No, that's a very good point you made.
Very good point.
It's a very important point you made, that there are no Baloch boys in the Baloch regiment. Yeah. It's a very, 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 very important point. Thank you for that clarification.
Correct. Okay. Second point is we are talking about the Gwadar and that area. So Gwadar should be concerned for Indians and the Americans. It's very close to Strait of Hormuz. And let me tell the Indian friends that Chabahar also is Baluchistan, which everybody is, not talking about. So we are talking about this part of Baluchistan, which is under the occupation of Pakistani army.
Frozen?
So that is, we can talk later on that that part.
There's a little,
We can hear.
Okay, let me repeat again. So the Gwadar should be concerned for Indians and the Americans because it's very close to Strait of Hormuz. And the second point is the Indians must know that Chabar is also Baluchistan. So that is, we can talk later on about that. My point is, so how come Indians are sleeping and the Americans are sleeping and the Chinese are intruding into Baluchistan? And they are demanding now to bring their People's Liberation Army into Baluchistan. So this is going to be a graveyard for Chinese also. All we need is support to kick them out of my land. This land belongs to me. We have to decide who's going to come to my land. Not the Pakistani army, not the Chinese army. We're going to fight it out. We are still fighting without any big support. So what is the duty of the international community to allow the Chinese to come to Hormuz? And you are sleeping? And Chinese have become, all these Politburo members have become rich because of the Sandek gold. For more than a decade, they are taking out gold, and all these army generals of Pakistan has become millionaires and billionaires because of the gold of Baluchistan. And just imagine You are taking and looting my gold, and what you are giving in return? The bodies of my lawyers, the bodies of my students, the bodies of my intellectuals, the bodies of my students, the bodies of my businessmen who is supporting this movement. And why you guys are sleeping? You have to take action. How come Pakistan is openly supporting the Kashmiris and Khalistanis? Punjab is a landlocked country. Tomorrow, you see, once you support Baluchistan, when Baluchistan is not under the clutches of Pakistan, Pakistan cannot survive. Pakistan does not have any means to survive. They want to sell Baluchistan, they want to sell the resources of Baluchistan to survive. And you are giving me dead bodies? That should be acceptable? No, I'm not going to accept that. We're going to fight it out. We know this coward army. With that, I don't know. Sometimes I become emotional, but
That's okay.
this is the fate. This is our fate.
No, we
This should not-
understand. We understand the emotion and we understand it fully, and we are with you.
Yeah.
Let me put it across.
Yeah, this should not be our fate. This should not be our
Yeah.
fate. When India wants to be a democratic country, civilized country, and talk about human rights, what is happening in Baluchistan with the dignity of Baloch people? Every day, the women, the children, and our people, they take them out of the bus and they insult them and kick them and throw them into the bus. This is my land. You are from outside. Go back to Lahore, go back to Rawalpindi. We have no problem with that. But you cannot easily engulf Baluchistan. We're going to fight it out. And we hope the world community, India, Western countries, United Nations, European Union, America, we are working in America also to tell them, stop using this mercenary army. Once they decide not to use this mercenary army, there's no need for Pakistan. Sindhis, if you see, Sindhis did not vote for Pakistan. Punjabis did not vote for Pakistan. There was a unionist party in Punjab. Pashtun did not vote for Pakistan. Bengalis vote for Pakistan and got millions of dead bodies. This is Pakistani army. And I hope that one day we're going to take this Pakistani army into the international courts and try them. Just make a commission to find out where this money from the gold is, in which banks in Switzerland and other countries. All these generals have become millionaires, and they have no shame to say that the Pakistan is gonna be prosperous with the wealth of Baluchistan. You're gonna be prosperous with the wealth of Baluchistan, and you are giving me dead bodies? You have no shame? That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your, emotion. I wouldn't say emotional, straight from the heart talk. I think it's required. And it's required to jolt a lot of people who are sleeping into start thinking of doing something useful. At the same time, I'd request Razak Bhai to start reaching out and build a consensus, a larger consensus. And how to do about it, we'll talk about it later. Tahir Bhai, your views, especially on the ripple effects on Pakistan, if this movement goes forward, what will happen to Pakistan? Because will not Pakistan break up? And can Pakistan itself survive without Baluchistan?
No, of course, Pakistan is meaningless without Balochistan, but it's not a responsibility of Baloch or Balochistan to keep Pakistan a meaningful country, because they were independent. They need their independence, and especially in the wake of massive human rights abuses, there is no way Baloch can live with Pakistan anymore. And I mean, as I'm hearing from fellow panelists, that practically it looks difficult, that the independence of Balochistan is not possible imminently. But the thing is, Baloch people with their own struggle are making it possible. As we heard the statement of Maulana Fazlur Rahman, without international community's support towards Balochistan, Baloch people are making it possible. So that is the kind of a very interesting scenario, that against all odds, either from Chinese side, or the silence of Western world, or even ineffectivity of India in terms of supporting Balochistan. Uh, Despite there is a huge propaganda in Pakistani press that India is doing whatever is happening in Balochistan. But my Baloch friend asked me that we are not getting support from India, but Pakistani media is blaming for all this scenario. And as Razak Baloch Bhai mentioned about, there is no Baloch in Baloch regiment anymore. So, but we have to find one more question, that where are Baloch? Baloch are not just in so-called Pakistani occupied Balochistan. They are also in Iranian occupied Balochistan. They are also widespread in Afghanistan. And the fourth part, there are Arab Baloch. We usually don't realize they are Arab Baloch, because on the Oman coast and even on the UAE, I have personally met many Arab Baloch in UAE as well as in Oman. So as the Prime Minister Modi and the India have very good relations with the Gulf states, I would urge Prime Minister Modi to talk about this issue with the Arab leadership. I mean, I understand that Arabs would not like independence of Balochistan sort of thing, but Arabs will be interested to have their stake, to have their interest, business interest in Balochistan, and they should deal Balochistan as an independent country, in fact. And Arab Baloch understand this reality. Honestly, this is a very important segment, what we miss all the time, that when we talk to Arab Baloch, they are Arab. They can speak Balochi as well. I have met a couple of people. So it is important to take those Arab Baloch on board. They are very influential. They understand the pain, going through Baloch. So I wanted to bring this point as well.
Thanks a lot. I think all of you have brought in a lot of points. So, Brigadier Sehgal, sir, your last point on your last view on where do you think all this is going and what should India's stance be in the future? A quick take, and before we finish it off, because
I
we've
agree
spent already.
with the fellow panelists that we need to provide a big publicity to this thing, take up the Baloch cause and internationalize the Baloch cause, because just like they at the drop of the hat, it's not only quid pro quo on the Kashmir issue, but the basic issue is there's a humanitarian issue, there are atrocities being committed, and this is also becoming an important strategic issue for us, and we should not take it lying down. We should highlight this issue, Sharm el Sheikh or no Sharm el Sheikh, and therefore it's important for India to be an active player in broadcasting and in highlighting the atrocities and sensitizing the global media, the global institutions, particularly my European Union friends, and also the Trumpian in America, who would be more than happy to look at this in critical terms. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. So, two things emerge very clearly. The Baloch people need to be helped out. On that, I have never had a doubt, and that is the start point of why why General Murthy and I had this discussion. I knew it was going to be long, not the normal one half an hour podcast. I said, let people speak. So I'm glad all of you have spoken. That's the first part. India needs to help them out. The second, the history of any movement or warfare or conflict or whatever you call it, or a freedom struggle, whatever you call it, starts around a narrative, starts around information, starts around building a consensus, and taking it forward. I think the time has come for us to take this story of the Baluch people and the oppression they are going through out of Baluchistan into the international media.
Yes.
And this is the big lesson which I take away personally from here. So far, to be very honest, I was hesitant to touch this topic. But today I have broken my own shackles. And Razak bhai, thanks for talking what you spoke. And it's a very interesting thing that you made, that in the Baluch regiment, there's not a single Baluch. Right? It represents a lot of things. And the night is owned by the Baluch people and not the Pakistan army. Two important things I take away. But we will see more of this in the future. We can talk about this later. With this, I'd like to thank all the panelists and also Captain Alok, who had to leave because he had some other commitment. General Gautam Murthy, sir, your final point, and you would like to thank everyone, and we'll stop it. And my apologies to all the viewers. I've not taken your questions. I can see a lot of points. Maybe on the weekend you could ask me some of these in the open hour. Gautam Murthy, sir, all yours.
Thank you, General Shankar. May this webinar be a forerunner of many more webinars, not only on Casa and Gunnershot, but across the other strategic think tanks of India, across other public fora, where we need to highlight the atrocities of the Pakistan army and the freedom struggle of the Baloch people, who are just trying to voice their aspirations, and they're being put down very brutally. As Brigadier Saigal, my former boss, has very correctly said, it is not a quid pro quo for Kashmir, but this is something completely different. There is a dire need for these people to be supported at all levels, and let us hope Mr. Donald Trump and the new American dispensation will see this. Let us hope European Union sees it. Let us hope OIC also sees it, and let they first and foremost stop the atrocities and restore the human rights of the Baluch people. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Tahir Gora. Thank you, Mr. Razak.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you,
Well
General
said, well
Shankar. And thank the audience for their patience and listening.
Thanks a lot. Good evening. Jai Hind.
Good
And at
morning.
the end of the
Jai
day,
Hind.
I'd say Jai Baloch.
Thank you.
Jai Baloch.